Here we go. We're recording.
How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson, along with the fantasy professor, John Bush, and here for week 2 of the matchup lab. Now, we're going to be looking at a lot of very detailed statistics, a special formula from the professor for power rankings. But if you're not familiar with those, go back and watch the first part of week 1, and you'll get your whole lowdown on how to use those statistical tools. And joining me, as he will each and every week, after all, folks, he kicked my butt when it came to handicapping games last week with the
Uh-oh.
TSA bunch. It is the Professor John Bush. And John, week 2, still a lot of uncertainty here in the NFL.
Yeah, and we covered a lot of that in our regular podcast. The matchup, we try, I think, to focus on some of the key games and help people think about maybe betting, maybe some lineups. The TSA folks have a lot of betting information and things besides our podcast. So you need to check out the website, check out all their YouTube fun stuff. It's just seem like every 10 or 15 minutes they got a show going off over there. So uh, information is flying left and right. So that is not your trouble if you're hanging with the TSA fun bunch here. Just watch your bankroll, game theory. Dennis and I are not betting the mortgage on pretty much anything we say. So just, have your bankroll, be cautious early in the season. We'll have better information later, and just be aware if you're uh, gambling a little bit, be cautious. Now's the time to be cautious. Or you can do the barbell approach, which is very cautious, or have a little bit of money to go, their 10 leg parlays go crazy. But just a little bit, right? We're talking the apple concept. Most of the tree is conservative, but pick an apple and go for that 10 prop parlay for $1 or $2. That's it. Okay. That's not the mortgage here versus the safer, but you got to have a bankroll better than $10. If your bankroll equals to your gumball bankroll, you're in the wrong business. And why don't you just skip this year, save your $10 each week, so your wife won't beat you in the head with the rolling pin when you come back and turn your pockets out. And volunteer to eat your banquet frozen dinner if you lose all your money. Be contrite, but just be cautious about gambling. And week 2, we know probably a little more, but still we don't know a lot about the NFL. And our matchup is going to be a little bit rougher here. Than hopefully in a few weeks, Dennis, we'll have a little bit more clarity about our matchups in our games we're going to cover then versus today.
And we like to look at the extremes. So we look at the annoying low scoring squirrel games, we call them. And we
Mm-hmm.
look at the big scoring, husky, beautiful games. And the professor will break down how we come to selecting our games.
Yeah, so we are using the over under as a landscape for us, and the spread does matter a little bit. This is Vegas information, and Vegas is still there. It hadn't been broken, so don't think about trying to break them. Just be cautious, ride again, they're not necessarily predicting as trying to set the markets. And so there are some spot plays, right? When you go to the racetrack, you will lose money if you bet every race. Okay. So I learned that early on that the favorite wins 30-something% of the time, and you think, man, that is great. Well, where do I bet the favorite every time? You'll lose about 17 cents for the dollar. So if you bet a dollar, they'll give you 83 cents back on average. And you're thinking, that doesn't sound fun. That is correct. It is not fun. Fun for the track, not fun for you. The horses are jumping up and down. They get extra hay and oats when they take your money. So, and Vegas is jumping up and down when you bet too crazily. So, again, we look at the high over under this week. Cincinnati Jacksonville is the Husky game, the happy, fluffy, lots of points scored game versus the sad, annoying squirrel game of Pittsburgh, Seattle at 40 something points. So, Dennis, which one should we go? And this is a figure I'll have in our associated with our podcast. You can look at it, and I'll try to have some hard copies put up as well for you to look at this. But this is just Vegas's opinion earlier in the week. Which one do you want to start with? The Squirrels?
Well, let's jump
Oh,
into the
you want to do the
Squirrels.
power rankings?
Well, let's take a
what
look
do
at
you
the
want to
power
do?
rankings very first thing,
Okay,
and
power
we'll
ranking.
show the teams that are at the extremes, because these are the teams where you want to go shopping for your fantasy football plays of the week. That doesn't mean that a team in the red, you won't play anybody on their teams, but be reluctant. Have a really good reason to start more than one player from any of those teams in the red. Be a little bit more discerning with your picks, and a little more selective in the reasoning behind your picks if they're in the red. If they're far in the green for this week, Detroit, Baltimore, Arizona, you can't get enough of those players in your lineup. So I'm playing Connor, I'm playing Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm playing Trey McBride with Arizona. I might even play a little bit of Kyler Murray. Will, if the matchup says to go that direction. Baltimore, I'm obviously playing Lamar, I'm playing Derrick Henry, I'm playing Flowers, and I'm going back to Mark Andrews, even though he had a bad week last week. In Detroit, I can't get enough Detroit players in my lineup. Montgomery is the only guy that I will be looking for another alternative, but I have a couple of teams, Professor, where I'm doing the play it both routine again this year. So I'll have Gibbs and Montgomery as my starting two running backs this week. And I feel okay with that because they are at the extreme of the power ranking. The guys that are in the middle, I don't worry so much as I look at this data for the extremes.
Yep, that's how you should look at it. This is the start, not the beginning, such as the Vegas is the start, not the beginning. So
let's look at the scrawniest of the squirrels here. Let's look at Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Okay, game 6 here, and that is just my arbitrary games. It's not my 6th favorite game or whatnot. Pittsburgh 22, Seattle 17. Spread is 2.5. Pittsburgh is at home. Yeah, usually the rule of thumb is about 2 to 3 points for the home. If it was Seattle at home, a lot of times that spread may even flip to Seattle being the favorite, or the spread would be really close if that. But Vegas says 40. Not sure what the latest line is, but I bet it's not too far off 40. And so that means it's more a defensive struggle. So if you're an IDP player, there may be a little bit more opportunity. I don't play IDP, so I don't know the relationships, and that's something I probably should do, Dennis, for IDP folks out there. I haven't got into that. I just got to start building the IDP database a little bit. Put that on the list of everything I need to do. I still need interns for research, and so I'm not sure, but I'm assuming, and I don't know. I'm assuming this is a good game for IDP. I don't know that.
And,
Okay.
and what
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
yeah, and what we saw last week uh, was, remember, we had that Pittsburgh New York Jets game that was a squirrel,
Right.
and it ended up with over 56 and a half points. It was way over. It was over 56 points scored in that game. So, early in the season, these
Yeah.
defensive matchups can be a little bit deceiving. And after one bad game like that, the DAPS will be very skewed for both Pittsburgh and the New York Jets when this data resets after week 3. So until we get well into the season, you're looking at all of the data a little bit more suspiciously.
And I have thought about maybe doing like 2/3 last year, 1/3, the first couple weeks. I thought, and that would just be a thumbnail, a thumb, uh, just a rule of thumb for this year. I have no clue what that should be or not. I doubt anybody's done that research. If they have, they haven't put it out there. But we don't have a data society, Dennis, with a scientific journal. So there are no sources unless it's secret stuff that's being hidden behind paywalls. I don't know what people can buy or not, but I haven't seen that. So this is my DAPS, defense against position. Uh, if it's red or green, that obviously stop or go. So that pretty much tells you the situation. Above or below average kind of means there's a tendency to be good or bad, but it's not so great that you just need to just react crazily. It's like, the coals are still a little hot, but, if I had to, I could stick my hand in there for a second or two versus a roaring fire or a freezing Antarctic situation where it's tough or not, or easy. And so Pittsburgh at home against Seattle, pretty much they should have what they need. Any position, nothing is too crazy bad. There's good performances could be had by everybody. If you had to stream a defense, Pittsburgh could have been it. I found some other ones, but if you still haven't picked your stream, that could be a streaming this week. Seattle, on the other hand, Pittsburgh is tough from last year. They are tough on the quarterback, but look at the tight end, and I don't even know who Seattle's tight end is, Dennis. But whoever it is, they might, maybe there's part of your parlay. I don't know. I would say if they could get 4 or 5 catches, that may be something, and you could, you know, get you 10 points from them. That would be spectacular. Nothing's going to scare me away, but I'm still not thinking Seattle's, should be able to conquer Pittsburgh. It would surprise me. It would surprise Vegas. They just think it's close because I don't think they trust the offense of either. To me, I think that's the story is Vegas is not enamored with either offense, Dennis. I think Aaron Rodgers, they're still hadn't decided how broke down he is, right? He's that as an old car you got that grandpa still has and you hope it starts, but it might not. You never know. And Seattle is just rebuilding. You're not sure where they're rebuilding to. Are they going down? Are they digging their grave quicker? Or are they actually moving up a little bit? So that's the kind of, I think Vegas is just more, they'd probably be positive about the defenses more than the offenses here. That's how I take this game from the Vegas point of view is not, again, the offense is not just amazed Vegas by any way. Last year, Pittsburgh was about 53% efficient versus Seattle 45. So, folks, that doesn't mean that I believe that there's an advantage there. To me, that's the same. So, there's no advantage there. The home away splits minus 6 points, 6% less. Seattle uh, at home, but 6% better away. So that's good. And Pittsburgh is 3% better at home. So really, nothing really dramatic there. The only thing I see is Pittsburgh likes to pass a little more than rush at home, but they're pretty good at home. Uh, Seattle wants to rush by 10% more away and pass less. And the DAPs may be pointing us that way. Maybe Ken Walker has an opportunity. You know, if he got 10% more activity, maybe he could get you a median this week. I'm not rushing to play him, but if I've got a flex and need somebody, he might be a play.
And Charbonnet actually saw more
Oh,
snaps
well, then
than Ken
Charbonnet.
Walker, but I think that was more game scripted than what we're going to see if they're able to run the ball. So I expect pretty much a 50-50 split between those two guys and have it skew one way or the other based on game script. I don't know how the game script is going in here. Pittsburgh's defense gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points, but they did so to a mobile quarterback in Justin Fields versus a guy like Sam Darnold who's not going to move as well. The only thing I know for sure in this game is that we're not going to see 4 touchdowns again from Aaron Rodgers this week. That's the only guarantee I'm giving you. Other than that, and that's just based on the fact that it's very rare for a quarterback to throw 4 touchdown passes in back-to-back games. This game here, I would not be making a bet. If you forced me to take a choice, I'd go with the over, and I would take Pittsburgh -3. I'm really picking my spots for starters here. JSN with Seattle is a must start. The quarterbacks are not must starts. The running backs are not much must starts. And for Pittsburgh, I don't know if I have a must start. Calvin Austin looked good in week 1, but I'm not sure that that backs it up. Maybe DK Metcalf would be the only guy, a little, revenge game, if you will, in here for him. But I am not going out of my way to start a lot of players on either team. But if you forced me to make a choice, Pittsburgh -3 and take the over. The other annoying squirrel game, and we dealt with one of the squirrel games on our regular podcast. So let's go to the Los Angeles Rams and the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, game 5 here. I do want to ask about what's your opinion of Denver, Indianapolis, just the spread and how Vegas is seeing that game. I have some players on each, and Pittman and Sutton, and it's just what you that 2 point spread. It almost seems like a pick 'em. Just your overall impression, Dennis. Why I find the other game.
Yeah, I think Denver is going to win this one rather easily.
Oh wow!
I almost made this game my my Survivor League pick. I ended up
Oh
going with
okay.
Dallas over the Giants, but I came very close. I
Mm-hmm.
think Indianapolis played well last week, but I'm not so sure that Denver's just a better defensive team. Not
Mm-hmm.
sure what we're going to see offense in that game, though. So I would be really careful on picking my spots. I had all of my Pittman in play last week, and this week I'll be a little bit more conservative if I have a better option. But Pittman's probably the guy, and Jonathan Taylor are the two guys that I'll start. I'll also start Tyler Warren at tight end because he's going to be consistently getting you some volume. On the
Mm-hmm.
Denver side of the ball, Cortland Sutton looks like a good play. J.K. Dobbins might be a good play here. I don't know how much more they're going to be getting Harvey involved in the offense, probably more. So you might be able to play him as well.
Okay, that's good. Rams, Tennessee, 26-15. about 6 points, so roughly a touchdown. They think Rams are going to spank Tennessee, but it's 42. So I think Vegas's opinion is Tennessee's offense sucks. Not that, you know, the Rams defense is crazy, right? I think they think just Tennessee doesn't have what it takes to keep up with the Rams. That's my initial impression going into the depth of this game. Uh, the Rams, Tennessee, it looks like they're going to be able to run. Kyron Williams should do well. Stafford has an opportunity. They are one of my streamers this week. If you have the Rams or can go get them, they would be a streamer. The kicker's fine. The wide receivers, I just, even though it's tough, and this is last year, I think Puka will do what Puka does. So I think his talent is going to override that. I wouldn't play too deep into the Rams. I don't know who else is there. I can check, but whoever it is, Adams. I got Puka at 80, so it's a low WR1, and Adams is a high WR3, low 2 type. I don't know why it's come to that, but it has. Kyron Williams is a borderline 1, 2, high 2, low 1 type. Love the defense. 90 is one of the highest ones of the week. So that's how my rankings and uncertainty go here, Dennis. The Tennessee, it's Ridley. He's about a 3. Pollard could get you a 3-2 type, but it could be 5 points. It could be 15, Dennis. That's my high uncertainty is warning me to be very cautious. But if you drafted Pollard as your 2 or 3, you're probably playing him. Chiggy, I think I'm going to let somebody else play that. I know there's a lot of injuries, and he does on occasion give you a surprise, but I'm not seeing it here. Tennessee, I do not want their defense any which way. I think Vegas is seeing the sadness that is the Tennessee offense here. Efficiency wise, Rams are playing. So Ram is a favorite away team. Okay. They were 42% efficient. Tennessee was 10. So 4 times more efficient. Tennessee is at home. The Rams, 17% at home, minus 17 away. So Tennessee's hope is the Rams are not as strong away that Vegas thinks. So do be aware of that. And away games, they tend to pass less, run just about the same. So they just tend to pass less. So they try to dominate you with running. That's what the DAPS for Tennessee is going to give them. So Puka could have, it couldn't be more than Puka. And I'm not sure he's a 2 touchdown guy, maybe a 1. I do like the defense to take away from Cam Ward. So maybe there's a parlay there on a turnover. Tennessee at home, not very efficient. They 22% away team, 78%. So 22% minus at home. So they hate being at home. I don't understand that. I don't understand how a team gets that way. I'm assuming it's just random. I don't know. Something's not right. I don't know what that is. As far as any kind of bias, there's none here. So I think I'm going to leave you with Vegas doesn't trust Tennessee's offense. I think that's the story that we should consider when we're getting deep into this.
Well, Tennessee only got 12 points last week, and the Rams only scored 14. So we're looking at a very low scoring game. Yeah, you got to play Kyron Williams if you have him. Yes, you have to play Puka if you have him. But those are the only 2 must starts in this entire game. I'm shopping.
I like the defense.
Yes, defense I like as well. I did stream a bit of the Rams in our FPPC leagues this week
Okay.
because I think there's turnover potential. I think once we get deeper into the season, we're going to see Cam Ward. We're going to see that light bulb go on, and we're going to see great production out of him, but not yet. I'd wait and see, you know, on everybody on Tennessee. I'm very, very, very cautious. The only reasons I feel good about Kyron Williams and Puka is because you're going to get the volume. And with volume comes potential, maybe not the higher end games from either one of those guys, but they will score enough to make you happy. As far as the betting line goes on this, I like the under. As low as this is, I think both teams could be even worse on offense. And I'll take the Rams to win this one and be able to cover the 5.5. All right. On the Husky side, let's get that nasty, stringy, greasy squirrel out of our mouths with some good Husky games. How about Buffalo and the New York Jets?
Okay, I will say down here in Arkansas, we're having the World Squirrel Cook-Off, I think maybe this
Ooh, yeah.
weekend.
Woohoo!
So if you're hankering for grandma's squirrel and dumplings, you should get in your jalopy, you know, shut your shack, make sure nobody's, messing with your moonshine still, and come on down and get you a nice bit of squirrel and dumpling victuals down here.
Oh,
Granny Clampett would approve of that, but we're having the old squirrel cook-off here, Dennis. So, they're going to be heading. So if you go into the town, I forgot this, it may be maybe Springdale. I don't, if you see a wave of rodents flying out of the trees, out of that town, that's because, they're trying to be harvested for the cook-off. So the squirrels are packing their bags, grabbing their acorns, and leaving town down here in Arkansas. But anyway, the Huskies, then, which one did you see? Buffalo?
Buffalo and the New York Jets. It's just a quasi Husky.
Okay. Okay. You like
But
that
there's some
squirrel.
interesting players in this one.
Okay. You like that squirrel cook.
I
I
do
can
like that
tell
squirrel.
you missed the time. Your
Um,
mother probably up here in Chicago, they probably threw a little tomato sauce in there, kind of did some Italianification. I just made up a word,
oh, there you go.
Italianification of the squirrel. So just
So,
like they did back in Tuscany in the home country with the Italian squirrels, you know,
so, so I had a
little pasta. I
neighbor.
don't know what pasta goes. Bow tie pasta with the squirrel. Yeah.
Probably yes. So I had a neighbor of mine, my next door neighbor. The Baumgartners were big hunters,
Yeah.
and I think it was for his 12th birthday.
Yeah.
We at the birthday party we
Yeah.
had only things to eat that we shot
Oh
out
my
on
goodness.
his cousin's farm. So we had some squirrel. We had
Oh.
a squirrel like a, and it did have a tomato
I
pasty
knew there was some
pasta
Italianfication in yeah, some
pasta type thing in there. Now his mom was one of the McCoy family. Okay, so she was from West Virginia,
oh my
so
goodness.
she
Well,
knew about it.
anything's on the Dennis, anything's on the menu down there in West
So
Virginia.
she knew how to fix squirrel, and it was actually quite good. So we had squirrel, we had rabbit, we
Yeah.
had venison steaks, of course,
Yeah.
and we had pheasant, which
Ooh,
was
isn't that
really
pleasant? That's
that
right.
was very
Pleasant
very
pheasant.
good.
Yeah.
And we had some duck, so we had a little bit of everything. I like the pheasant better than the duck,
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah,
but
eat your food.
the squirrel, the what she made, it really actually was pretty good. It was a
Yeah.
very tomatoey
I
sauce. But
knew there was
anyway,
some tomatoes in there. Well, just remember in the fall, Dennis, when we run out of squirrels, we killed them all. Then it's the raccoon. They have a raccoon supper down here
ooh,
in the
there you
fall.
go.
All the politicians got to go down there and have a bite so they can get elected. And just remember, when you're cooking your raccoon down here, they do have to leave a paw on the raccoon, make sure it's not a cat that they slipped in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so you check the paw first on the platter, Dennis, and then you stuff him with put a sweet tater in his mouth, and you bake him. But you got to keep that paw on. Make sure it's not a cat they didn't slipped in, right?
Very good.
So they have
Very good,
raccoon
Dennis.
supper. So if you visit Arkansas, the squirrel cook off, and then in the fall come back for the raccoon supper, and you will have tasted the a la cuisine of Arkansas. So
Oh,
Buffalo, the Jets. I know people in New York are thinking raccoon. I don't. Is that like a rat? No, it's kind of like a rat, but not really. 29-16. Vegas is very pessimistic about the Jets' chances and touchdown difference, and they don't think much of the offense for the Jets. I know there's a good player or two there, but I think Vegas is down 45.5. It may have gone up. I don't know. Buffalo 29. I don't know. Here's the thing. I always wondered, and I haven't checked this, when it goes over the over under, say if it hits a little, if it say 20, 46, 47, does that mean the underdog scored more than Vegas thinks?
ooh.
Or does that mean Buffalo just scored less? And the under. I'm just curious of the dynamics. Does Buffalo need 30 points to beat the Jets? I don't think they do, Dennis. I'm skeptical about that over under. I would not bet the over under because of that. I hate that big spread there. Buffalo is away, so they are an away favorite. Another one here, and Kincaid is the only one that's going to have any issue. Everybody else is play them all day long. Allen has an opportunity to really do some things. Wide receivers, I'm just not sure which one gets the touchdown or two. James Cook should be there if he's well. He was having some tightness or had a little bit of a issue, Dennis, and we discussed putting Ray Davis on our uh, watch list. If you have a shallow bench, if you have a deep bench, grab him. I've got him a lot. I have
Oh,
forged and
yeah.
hoard for Ray Davis. I think Cook could miss some games, so I'm looking forward to my Ray Davis shares having some value, especially in the bye weeks here. Tough tight end, easy kicker. So I think that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't do any of the defenses though.
No.
Jets, Jets should have an opportunity to run. Brees Hall might show you why he might have been a bargain. We'll see. I don't know. I think Braylon Allen got a touchdown last week. And it looks like the wide receivers have an opportunity, but not the kicker or the defense. So the Daps would be a little bit more positive, Dennis, to me as I look at them versus Vegas's opinion of the Jets. So that's not quite jiving together. Buffalo's the best team last year, 100 points. Jets 33. Buffalo loves home away, and they love home. Away, it's 8% less. So the Jets have an opportunity. And but Buffalo loves to pass more and rush less, and I think they can do that. Whatever the Jets defense will give them, they'll do. So I don't think the Jets defense is going to stifle Buffalo at all. I think Vegas thinks that as well. The Jets love to rush at home. Brees Hall is there, easy dap. If Brees Hall is really the dog and gets all the snaps, then he could get you he could have a good day, Dennis, I guess. And I guess it's Neighbors, is that the one, or whoever it is, Garrett Wilson,
Garrett
whoever it is.
Wilson. Garrett
Yeah,
Wilson. Yep.
he has an opportunity. So 16 points. I mean, if you think a touchdown from Brees or Allen and well, that's 14 right there. Jets, as I read this a little deeper, I'm not sure Vegas has that 16 point. I think the Jets could get 20. I think they could maybe even get 21. I think this could go over as I think about it. I was thinking under, but now I'm wondering maybe the Jets are stronger offense than is believed.
And the Jets put up a good total and should have won that game last week against Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And Pittsburgh was rated as having a better defense than Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And so I like the Jets in here. And as a matter of fact, this is my upset special of the week. Where I think the Jets are
you playing them in the pick 'em?
I picked the Jets in the pick 'em, which
you did.
And it's a bold move because there's less than 30%. Last time I looked,
28.
There's only 28. Yeah, so I'm out there on the edge with this one. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. That's the one thing that I really feel good about. Brees Hall's going to have a good game. Garrett Wilson's going to have a good game. If you are really stuck and you're in a deep league, let's say you're in a 14-team league that starts 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes, and you need an emergency start, I'm going to give you one that's just on the borderline of sounding crazy. But if they try to limit what Garrett Wilson can do, Tyler Johnson has a shot at catching a couple of deep passes. Josh Reynolds is going to probably miss this game. That makes Tyler Johnson, the former Ram, who had a couple of big games for the Rams last year in a similar situation where Kupp missed some time and everybody else was out. Somebody had to get the points, and I kind of like that. And if you look at the power ratings here,
I'm looking at that. The Jets,
Buffalo's there, and the Jets are there.
They're kind of in the middle. I'm not scared. I'm wondering if I should bet the over. I don't know. I would probably think about that. And this could be something here.
Big scoring game here. I think there will be a big scoring game. I like Keon Coleman for Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I like James
So is
Cook
he passing Shakir now? Is that where we're at?
I think Keon Coleman's the guy. He's more likely to be leading the team in targets any given week. And then for the Jets side of the ball, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson all day long. Is
it Brees Hall?
It's Brees Hall. He's getting the volume. But here's the thing: is Braylon Allen's going to get all the goal line touches. So if it is a high scoring game, this might be a play them both type of deal, because Buffalo might have a tougher time against a power back than they do against a nimble back like Brees Hall. So you might see more of a mix this week. But Brees Hall in the passing game will be good. Fields will be able to get you some yards with his legs. Here is a weird stat from last week.
Yeah.
If you just count Fields' rushing points in fantasy football,
right,
he would have come in as the 16th ranked running back last week. Right. How about that for a crazy stat? So anything he gets you passing will be a bargain. Garrett Wilson is going to have a big year with him. It's just Fields gets out of the pocket. Wilson is good at finding the openings and coming back to his quarterback when his quarterback is out of the pocket. I think you're looking at another good week from Garrett Wilson. And I'm going to take is it a risky play? Yes. Am I betting the mortgage on it? No. Might I bet on the money line in this one? Yeah, I might go and do that. The odds are good. And that's the intriguing part to me in this one, because I can get I can get basically 2.5 to 1 by taking the Jets at home. They did start out at 3 to 1 on the money line, and it has narrowed itself back. Whenever I see Vegas going towards the home team and narrowing that gap on the money line, and here's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me, because the point of moving the line is to even out the betting.
Yes.
98% of the money is on Buffalo, yet they're pulling the money line back.
Is that, I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense. But 51% we're taking the Jets in the points.
Are they worried about late money? In other words,
yes.
their metrics? See, if I was in their business, I would monitor the whales and the late money behavior.
Yes.
And maybe they're thinking, we don't want a stampede at the last minute, 5 minutes before the game, before betting shuts down, to get stampeded. And, maybe that's cautious on their part. I don't know their dynamics. See, again, I would love to pick the brain of some of these odds, and it might be metric. It may be an algorithm, Dennis. I don't know what they're doing.
It probably is, but when I see the line going in the favor of the Jets,
but I'm saying, I'm wondering if they're picking up a projected. Do they have something called projected late money? Because in horse racing, a lot of times daily double payoffs and things will be skewy to the odds, and people pay attention. In fact, there are at least one paper I know I've read that the level of the information is more accurate in the hidden odds, they call it. In other words, in the exacta payoffs and daily doubles and pick threes, that you're getting a projection of the odds on various horses that is not reflected in the win. The idea is the smarter money is jumping in and not playing the win pool as much as playing the exotic betting. And so the wise guys are in those pools, and the odds are really different than what the win pools are. At least that's the theory about that late money concept.
And I buy that. And I also say that the other thing that convinces me here is this over under has gone from 45.5 to 47.5. So that's
so it's really,
that's why it made our Husky games. And that makes sense, because if the Jets are going to keep this one close, there's going to be more points scored in this game.
That's what it looked like to me from the DAPs. Didn't I tell you? I thought it was going to be about 21.
All three lines are going in the direction that say that Vegas is concerned about Buffalo losing. And that's why I am sticking my neck out and making the Jets my upset play this week. Because when I see Vegas responding, now they just might be responding and saying it's going to be a closer game. But I like the over in this a lot. And I also will take that 2.4 to 1 odds on the Jets to win on the money line. All right, our last Husky game of the day, our last game to look at, Jacksonville and Cincinnati. It is the huskiest of the Husky games.
Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Okay, 28-21. 3.5. Cincinnati's at home. There it is. 3.5. 49 point. It may have gone to 50. I don't know. But here's what some secret metrics. I will spill the beans that the passing yards per team is probably higher than a game like the Squirrel games, like Pittsburgh and whatnot. The data is suggestive there's more passing yards, therefore more PPR points. And so I think the over under is telling you something about fantasy that I don't think people. I don't know if people let that rise to the top, but that's how I start. I look there and then look into last week, into the DAPs, into the spread, into just my rankings, my power rankings and whatnot. And I don't know this week power rankings. I don't think Cincinnati. They're one of the high ones,
Yep.
and Jacksonville is above zero, so that's not. That
They're
implies
not
they're going to
awful.
have some action
Yep.
too. Yeah, that's the
Yep.
power rankings are saying there's going to be some activity, Dennis, which is interesting. And look at the DAPs. So the power rankings are saying that, and the over under, and look at the DAPs. It's not by chance that Vegas is queuing in on what I see as well. So I always feel good when things seem to make sense using different metric streams. Okay. You don't hear a lot about that, but it's called congruence when things agree that are from different points of view. That's always good in gambling and betting. And so I'm intrigued about that. Cincinnati should play them all, everybody you play, and the defenses are streamable. Jacksonville, pretty much the same, Dennis. Play Jacksonville. I had both of those teams as potential streamers if I couldn't get my top 3 or 4 streamers. These are my 5, 6 streaming types, if everybody's just too damn smart and got the good ones, Dennis, these are some that should be on your waiver and take a gamble. Because Burrow always gets a little frisky and tries to push the ball and will throw an interception. But he's the kind, that's fine. I'll just throw 50 more yards down the field the next time I get it.
Yes.
So, and Lawrence is kind of the same way. They will pepper their wide receivers and just shake it off and keep going again. So it wouldn't surprise me, high score and high turnover kind of game where it's just back and forth. And it could be last team gets the win, Dennis. And that could be really interesting. Cincinnati at home, 76 efficiency last year. Jacksonville half that. So Cincinnati wins in that category. Uh, Cincinnati at home is a little bit less than away, actually. So, but they're balanced rush and pass. Jacksonville is balanced rush and pass. So nothing really crazy there other than they didn't put a lot of points on the board last year and yards and things, so less efficient. So nothing really crazy there about Jacksonville being away. I'm not worried about that. So I'm thinking playing Strange, the tight end.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I don't know if I could call it another tight end parlay, but this might be a one.
Yeah. The problem with
Maybe
Cincinnati.
catches.
Yeah. The problem with Cincinnati is not knowing which of the tight
Well, I
ends
would
will
have to
come into
assume
play.
Fant. Yeah. Whichever one
Yeah.
you get more money on.
Yeah. Fant or Gesicki both have a shot at a red zone target. But which one gets that? Strange all day long.
Yeah.
Great spot for him.
And I
Great.
must say here, Dennis, you told me Strange. I was on Strange last year when Ingram was in and out,
Yes.
but I kind of walked away from him and you brought me back to him a little bit. So I picked him up a lot of places as my 2. And I'm
Yeah.
happy with my Kittle shares and my Goddard. I've got Strange in some of those, where I picked him up as my 2. So I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, and Travis Etienne was another guy that I really liked from Jacksonville. So much more than consensus. This whole Tank Bigsby is taking his starting job was nonsense. I thought that at the very beginning. I had more of Tootin to back up ETN than I had Bigsby. I took a couple of shares of Bigsby just in case everybody was, right and I was wrong. Turned out Bigsby is now wearing a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, so he was not the lead running back threat that everybody made him out to be. But I loved Travis Etienne's first week. I think Tootin will get worked in more. Trevor Lawrence should do well, but he will have a turnover or two against this Cincinnati defense.
It would surprise me the turnover battle is racing to the bottom.
I wouldn't be surprised to see both.
So there's probably some parlays in here and interceptions and maybe even pick six. If you really wanted to get aggressive in a parlay, stick that in there.
Yeah, wouldn't be shocked to see both quarterbacks throw 3 touchdowns, but throw 2 interceptions each.
Yes.
It wouldn't shock me at all. So play them if you got them, folks. If you got people.
I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., and
rebound game.
And Higgins and Che. I mean, it just looks like it's a free for all here.
Even Travis Hunter, the rookie,
could
might have a big game here too. ETN again, like I said, Chase Brown, both of the wide receivers for Cincinnati and Burrow all have bounce back games. Burrow could throw for 400 yards in this game. It wouldn't shock me. I love the over in this one. Here's the interesting thing. This line has not moved at all, yet 91% of the money are on the under, and I like the over, and I don't have a problem with that. 92% of the money is on the money line with Cincinnati, and you're having to give up. It's a minus 181, but Jacksonville only at a plus 151. There is no way I would be playing that for Jacksonville. So 92% of the money rightfully on Cincinnati in the money line, but 51% are taking the 3.5 points in Jacksonville. Doesn't make any sense to me. I would give the points with Cincinnati. I'd take the over in this one as well. And Cincinnati on the money line, not a good bet. I don't like to bet chalks like that. If I'm going to play a money line bet, I'm going to look for an upset and get the odds. And as far as starting everybody, like I said, just roll them out there. You can't have enough of players in the Husky games in your lineup. So head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Check out the Science of Fantasy Football podcast. Check out all of the data that the professor has waiting for you to make your matchup plays. Hey, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel here at the Sports Affiliation, and check out all of the great shows every day of the week. They keep you entertained here on the Sports Affiliation. We are so proud to be part of the TSA family, and come on back here next week for another edition of the Matchup Lab.
Get to work, folks.